everybody. My name is Julia, and welcome to my digital classroom. Today is lesson 2 out of 10 on the executive branch of the American government. Today, we're going to be talking about the first 100 days of the presidency. As always, my sources come from iCivics. You can view all of their resources for this lesson using the QR code in the top right. And as always, I'm committed to giving you a lesson in 10 minutes or less, so let's get started. Our lesson objective for today is that you are going to be able to explain the concept and the origin of the president's first 100 days, where that idea even came from, and we're going to talk about if the first 100 days are indicative to the success of the presidency or what may impact the success of the first 100 days. So let's jump right in. First, we're going to stop and do a quick warm up. I want to know, what does this quote mean to you? You will never get a second chance to make a first impression. Here's what I want you to do. Take out your phones, open up your camera app, and then go ahead and scan that QR code. It'll ask you to open a website called Padlet. Go ahead and open it up, and then it is going to give you a couple of boxes. You'll see the warm-up question. You go ahead and hit the plus sign, and then you can go ahead and answer the question with your phone. So go ahead and do that. Go ahead and pause the video, and I'll be here right when you get back. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and move on. What is the big deal with the president's first 100 days? I'm sure you've heard that phrase before, especially because when the president is on the campaign trail, he or she is always talking about what they're going to be doing in their first 100 days. So, the idea is that it's supposed to measure how well the new president is going to be able to take on this new power. It's also going to talk about if they're actually able to hold their campaign promises, if they're going to be successful, if they're going to fail. It's also going to help us to see if the cabinet nominations are going to be any good. They're going to know if the Congress is going to like them, if the public is going to like them. We're going to see a little bit about how domestic, which is within the country, domestic and foreign policy challenges are handled. How are they dealing with legislation within the country? How are they dealing with legislation with countries abroad? We don't know. These first 100 days should tell us. And then finally, the first 100 days are supposed to tell us whether or not the president is going to be a success or a total bust. So there's a lot riding on the 100 days, but why? It actually comes from whenever Franklin Delano Roosevelt was elected to the presidency back in 1932. He was elected in the Great Depression. Remember, the stock market crashed in 1929. So the Americans were already a couple years into the Depression. The state of the economy was deplorable. So, whoever was going to be elected president had a big, big job to do. So, FDR ran on basically what he was going to do in his first 100 days of presidency to try and undo the Great Depression. He promised a quote unquote New Deal for Americans, and he had passed 15 pieces of legislation just within the first 100 days to start this supposed New Deal. It was great because it gave Americans something to hope for, it gave them promises to hold on to, and he was actually very successful in his first 100 days. So, this trend carried on because it was helpful during the campaign trail to give listeners something to grasp onto. But you win some and you lose some because the first 100 days have worked for some presidents and has also worked very much against some presidents. Sometimes they just inherit huge problems. Harry Truman at the end of World War II, he inherited the end of World War II. But it was a huge boom because he was able to end the war, which was a very positive thing that Americans saw. He didn't pass too much legislature, but he did end the war, which was super key for his success and how the Americans perceived him. Some early missteps can be problems here. JFK, John F. Kennedy, he is notorious for the Bay of Pigs invasion of Cuba. He did that very early into his presidency. I will let you research why, but of Pigs was a huge disaster. They invaded Cuba. Cuba knew all about it. They shut it down. America did not look too good. So, right off the bat, there was a bad taste just because of the Bay of Pigs invasion. Some national drama. Lyndon Johnson's idea for national unity was very good for the start of his presidency. Now, he assumed the presidency after JFK was assassinated. So whenever he went on the slogan of national unity, that was whenever he got reelected after JFK's first term would have ended. And this was very good for him because the country was just in a lot of places of strife and needing people to bring them together. So Lyndon B. Johnson running on this idea of unity was very good for him and very good for what the American people wanted. And then sometimes, and this is just in general, the big split, that is if people are in favor but Congress is not, or if there's just basically if there's a split between what the people want and what Congress wants, that can make some very big tensions occur. So, does it really matter? Here's the argument for yes, the first 100 days do matter in a presidency. This time of transition is good for momentum. It can get people excited, it can get the president working, it can get the cabinet excited, it can get Congress confident. It's just a good time to get people going and to get people working together. It's always good to start strong, and so that goes on with that idea of momentum. Then the American public and Congress will have the chance to determine how they really feel about the president. Sometimes this can go badly because they might have a bad taste in their mouth, but if it goes well, then that president is likely to be very successful just because they have the people and they have Congress on their side. Here's the argument for why it's not so important. It doesn't really matter how many bills a president passes to be successful, because that's usually how the first 100 days success is measured, based on how many laws are passed. Now, we already talked about with Harry Truman, he didn't really get to pass any bills, but he got to end a war. So, does it really matter if any bills are passed if you can do something good on the flip side? We don't really know. That's up to your opinion. Then we ask, why does it have to be 100 days? That just seems like a very arbitrary number. It doesn't have to be that strict. Why can't we look at the presidency as a whole? That's a great question, one that I cannot answer. And then finally, I thought this comparison was good, especially if you are a senior in high school right now. Think of it this way. Is it fair to judge your entire 4 years of high school based on the first few months of freshman year? It's a great question. So, these are things to consider. There is no right answer, whether the first 100 days is meaningful or matters or not. This is just what you think. So, let's take a look at what some other people think. So, Lyndon B. Johnson, I already told you, assumed the presidency after JFK. And this is what he has to say. He thinks it does matter. He says, I was just elected president by 15 million votes. Just by the natural way people think, and because Barry Goldwater scared the heck out of them, I have already lost about 2 of these 15 million and am probably getting down to 13. If I get in any fight with Congress, I will lose another couple million. And if I have to send any more of our boys to Vietnam, I may be down to 8 million by the end of the summer. So basically, he is saying, yes, it does matter. I need the American people to like me, or I'm going to lose a ton of support. So these first 100 days, I've got to get it right. Here's the flip side. President John F. Kennedy says, all this will not be finished in the first 100 days, nor will it be finished in the first 1,000 days, nor in the life of this administration, nor even perhaps in our lifetime on this planet. But let us begin. Fascinating. This goes on that argument that says, why 100 days? That seems like a very arbitrary measure. Kennedy says, it doesn't really matter. We're not going to be able to get it all done by the time 1,000 years passed. You know what I mean? So that is his perspective. So now I want you to scan this QR code. I'm going to move it so that you should hopefully be able to see the whole thing. There we go. So go ahead and scan that QR code. It's going to take you to the same Padlet. Now you're going to get to answer the closure question. Do you think it matters? Are the first 100 days important to the presidency? I want to know what you think. Go ahead and address that, and then we'll wrap up. Okay, everybody. Thank you again for tuning in. I will see you for lesson 3. That is all for now. Again, if you have any questions for me, go ahead and give me a follow. Send me a message on Twitter at Giulia Pucci edu. You can also scan the QR code and visit my website. All my contact info is there if you have any questions. Again, you can also ask your teachers. Have a great day, and I'll see you in lesson 3. Bye.